Good evening, everybody. Well, and hold on, let me get the chat in here and see who's here. Oh, Matt. Matt, do I sound any different? Because I noticed one thing happened. I had the microphone in front of me, and I didn't have it connected to my laptop that whole time when I told you that. So Matt had suggested maybe using a microphone for my shows. Matt Kondracki. And I said I did. So I got my microphone out and I set it down. And I don't think I ever plugged it into the laptop, because then I saw him and he goes, "You still didn't, you're not using a microphone." I said, "No, I am. I have it. I promise." But I don't think it's plugged in. Anyway. Okay, cool. Much cleaner. No reverb or echo. Awesome. See, I didn't have it plugged in. So there you go. Confession. Anyway, thank you guys. It's Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, another episode of Paranormal Brew. I have a very interesting, beautiful woman on tonight, recommended by Mr. Matt Kondracki himself. Thank you so much for that. And I actually had the pleasure of working with her as well when Dark Echoes TV came to Bird Mansion in Birdsboro. And Jaclyn was there. I got to meet her. Sweetheart. She's a sweetheart. Good investigator. And she's gorgeous. In case you guys didn't check the pic out, she's gorgeous. She is having a little bit of trouble getting on. So if I look away for a second, she's been trying to get in. And I told her I was going to go live and do my spiel and everything. And then she's trying to get on. So I am in contact with her. She is trying to get on. So hello, Kyle. Hello, Vic. Love you guys. So again, Paranormal Brew every Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. I'm your host. I am booked until the second week in June, which crazily is not that far away. It sounds it, but it really isn't. So I have a guest tonight. She's awesome. Jaclyn LaRen Fallara. I hope I'm saying that right. It just kind of flows off my tongue that way. She's a woman in the paranormal. She is law. I don't know if she still is, but has a background with law enforcement, being a cop, is what I read. And she also helps cold cases along with paranormal investigating and doing paranormal stuff. She also helps like missing persons, like cold cases and stuff. Let me say here, a new cast member of Dark Echoes Paranormal. Yes, she is. And hi, Jing. Jing is in Indonesia, everybody. She's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful friend, almost sister, family member. She's a very faithful Brew follower. She loves Paranormal Brew, and I love her. And I love that she is in Indonesia. So the brew is technically international. We're so international. I believe I've had the UK on here as well. So there you go. Hi, Stacy. Hi, Kathy. Thank you so much, guys, for joining. Hopefully, Jaclyn will be on soon. She's Let me just check my phone and make sure she's okay. Um, I'm really looking forward to talking to her. Her story is really awesome. What I can do is, while we're waiting, I can read to you guys her bio a little bit. And hey, Dana, PG. So I'll just, read a little bit. She has a unique blend of investigative expertise and remarkable skills have set her apart as a dynamic force in the paranormal field. Yeah, she is very busy. Um, she is the lead investigator for a paranormal team, Forsaken Souls. Um, let's see here. Um, okay, sorry, give me a second. She's maintained an unwavering commitment to safeguarding the lives and uncovering the truth hidden behind shadows, taking up a career in law enforcement and executive protection. She spent her career improving evidence beyond a shadow of a doubt. Even as a law enforcement officer, Jax encountered the unexplainable. I love that. I love having police and police on that have. Ernie Atwell is another one that, if you've never checked him out, he's a police officer in New York. He also does this for, hey, Alex, does this, um, he's in the paranormal as well. um, So they travel all over investigating, her and her team. And then she started something, Speaking for the Silent, where she shares her relentless quest in seeking justice for cold case victims and their families. Forsaken Souls, Speaking for the Silent, Forsaken Souls new TV series, Speaking for the Silent. I guess it's a paradrama docu-series where real crimes and unsolved cases meet with paranormal investigation. So that sounds really cool. Sounds interesting. Sounds fun to watch. Um, uh, Her partner is a U.S. Army veteran, John Vega. They begin each case with extensive research, ultimately conducting a new criminal investigation by interviewing local law enforcement, case experts, area historians, and even tracking down previous witnesses to ultimately uncover new leads to the crime in question. So that sounds like a dream job to me, just so you know. So I love that. So she's doing that. She is an investigator, her with her team, and she's also, as Matt said, she's the newest cast member of Dark Echoes TV, and I had the pleasure of working with her. Um, so she's saying Forsaken Souls is a team of experienced professionals who research and investigate a wide variety of cold case crimes, ranging from murder to missing person cases, with backgrounds in law enforcement, military intelligence, criminal investigation, science, and data research analysis, and our very talented psychic medium. We focus on facts and helping families who've waited far too long for answers. Um, so they help people. Hey, Wayne, how are you? Um, they also let me see. We provide confidential, compassionate, and professional investigative and support services to those in need of help, and ultimately validate or debunk with evidence collected. Um, so yeah, she does a lot, and here she says she was. I think she's still having trouble getting on. I feel bad. Uh, I don't know, Matt, if you're watching, maybe if you could maybe help her. Let me see if I can message her. Um, Once again, let me see. Okay, she just read my message, so we'll see. She'll be on. I'm sorry, guys. I know I'm not who you want to talk, who you want to sit here and talk. So to fill time, I will tell you, me and the Peaches went to Hinsdale House for 4 days. Um, We were there from Thursday to Sunday. We thought we would, take some time to, since we were close, Jossie actually set it up. Oh, here we are. She's here.
Couldn't. I still can't get it to connect to my headset, though.
Can you hear me?
I can, but it's coming through the phone. It should be coming through my earbuds. Let's see.
Oh, I think I hear you.
You hear me? Yay, you're here. How are you? Uh-oh. Did she wait, where is she? Hold on. What happened? There she is.
Okay, let me try this. Oh my goodness.
You're,
No, why is it changing cameras on me?
it's haunted.
Listen, there we
What?
go. Every podcast I try to join, I can't connect. There's an issue. Nobody wants me talking.
Oh, well, I want you to talk.
Well, thank you.
Welcome.
Holy
And thank you
moly.
so much for coming on. You look hot as usual.
Oh, I don't feel so hot. I've had allergies. My eyes are pouring. I feel like an old lady. I'm like, oh yeah, I can't do this.
Thank you so much for coming on. I know you are super busy. Um, I was actually reading your bio to everybody before you came on, just to give everybody a little bit of a rundown. First, let me just say this: from coming from a law enforcement family, thank you for your service,
Oh, thank you.
and please thank your partner for his service.
Thank you.
Being in the military, I love military and I love law enforcement. So, and I have such a high respect for for you guys. So, thank you so much. Um,
Thank you.
I always like to first and foremost put that out. So I know I did read your bio, but if you could just give people a little bit of rundown, like how you got into the paranormal, like and I don't know, was the paranormal and the law enforcement at the same time? It's funny because I always say when we investigate, kind of parallels like some of the rules that law enforcement, like you never go to a house, you never go into a place
Yeah,
with somebody, and
yeah,
how you investigate and research and this and that, they kind of parallel, right?
yeah, absolutely.
So
Absolutely,
so what
100%.
came first, law enforcement and then the paranormal, then law enforcement, and how did your law enforcement
Paranormal.
buddies, how did, just tell us all about you. We want
Yeah, sure. Well, paranormal definitely came first. As a kid, small kid, my earliest, I think, memory is probably like 7, 8 years old. I know things were going on in the house before that. I grew up in a very, very haunted home, and I come from a very old school Sicilian family. So the only spirits that exist are angels and guardian angels, for that matter, and God.
yeah,
Ghosts, we don't say ghost. So for I can remember as a child things happening, and my mother would either, go like this and scoot us the other way, or my father would be like, she's crazy.
yeah,
But, me and my brothers and sisters were like, something's not right about this. Um, However, things escalated even when I was little. I remember I had a babysit over at 12 years old. I had been home from school sick. My mother had hired one of her students to, 'cause my mom taught at medical school, so one of her students was babysitting me. And I remember laying on the couch and I just hear screaming coming from down our hallway. And naturally, I get up and I'm walking around, and she's locked in the bathroom and she's screaming her head off. And she's like, let me out of here. And I'm like, I'm not holding the door. I have no clue what's going on. After about 5 minutes of screaming and banging on the door, she opened the door. The door would open. She came running out, ran outside, called my mother, and was like, you better come home because I'm leaving your house and I'm leaving your kid here.
oh my
And she
goodness,
did. She left. She actually left. Um, and that was many incidents. I would have friends over. As a teenager, you have your friends sleep over, you go to parties, your friends come back to your house. I remember waking up one night, my girlfriend is screaming her head off. I find her under my kitchen table, like rocking.
did they ever
And
tell
I'm
you
like,
what they saw, like what they were seeing, or what?
well, in this girl's case, she was fixing her hair in the mirror. It was like 1 a.m. And she said a man appeared behind her, but he was not like a regular man, like a human man. She said he looked evil and he had blood on his head and he was just like making a growling noise. And I always knew whatever was in that house was not kind. Um, there were rumors of a murder suicide that had taken place in the home years before my parents purchased it. And my parents purchased it when I was, I think, 4 years old. So I lived there my whole life. Our house burnt down to the ground twice,
Oh, wow.
unexplainable, no reason, to the point where like they were investigating my parents. Like, how does this happen? There's no reason.
Holy
Um,
wow.
People would not stay at the house. There were physical attacks. Like as I got older and started really, I was the only one of the four of us children that became intrigued by it. My brothers and sisters were terrified. And for me, it was more like, I need to know more of this. And so my passion for paranormal started at a very, very young age. And the last incident that really made me be like, I'm going to figure this out was, again, my father he'll tell you till he's blue in the face, there's no such thing as ghosts. I wake up in the middle of the night to my father cursing, screaming, and he was a very like quiet little Sicilian man. Like if he could speak one word in a very monotone voice and you'd shiver, you know what I mean? So to hear him yell was kind of like something's not right. So I get up, it's like, I don't know, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning. I run in my parents' bedroom. My dad is bleeding from his forehead. My mom is crying, and I'm like, what the heck is going on? And my father's screaming. Somebody must have broken the house because there was a man at the foot of the bed that chucked. My mother had this decorative crystal um, decoration on the dresser, and he said he woke up initially to being choked.
Oh,
This is
wow.
coming from my father. He woke up to being choked, and then when he kind of like came to, this being was at the end of the bed and threw this crystal at him, and it split his head. And years later, my father will joke around. He'd be like, "It was your mother. I know it was your mother trying to kill me." But in reality, there were incidents that were happening all the time that were just like something's not right. Well, I had started getting into paranormal in like my teenage years, starting to like actually go out and investigate. And so I had a girl that was a psychic medium come over the house, and she says to me, now I didn't tell her anything. I never told anybody the story of my house because one, I didn't want people to think, I was still young enough to where, and of course, this is in the days where if you talked paranormal, you were crazy.
Hmm.
So you didn't talk about it a lot, especially when I was younger. You didn't say things like that. That's not cool. Um, so I had her over and she says, you have a portal in your house. And I said, what? I didn't know much of even what a portal was at the time. And she's like, yeah, you have a portal in your house and there are very dark things in this house. My parents ended up, after the almost third fire, the first two, we lost
So
both
yeah,
houses total.
how did they ever determine what started the fires?
Nope, all three were listed by the fire marshal as non-explainable. All
Wow.
three of them. So
Wow.
after the third one, which luckily it didn't take the whole house, my parents sold the house. That was it. By then, I was 18 years old. So my whole life was in that house. Um, so investigation was always I was very driven by it. I always, even like as a kid, wanted to know more. I got into law enforcement in high school. I took some classes, like some police classes, and I did like the police explorers. And so I went to college for law enforcement, and then I joined my first actual real paranormal team in college. And I absolutely just, the passion behind it grew excessively.
Yeah.
I needed to know. And I started applying a lot of what I would learn in law enforcement out in the field. In law enforcement or any career that's in, whether it's executive protection or, whether you're a cop, you're the FBI, you're the security officer, it's very black and white. You either did it or you didn't. There's evidence or there's not. And you have to prove everything beyond a reasonable doubt, right? And so that's kind of how I always applied everything in paranormal. As I got older, I always stayed in paranormal. I joined a very big team, Voices Beyond the Veil, just after I had my kids. And I started traveling around with them. And, I had been diagnosed with an illness. And so I had taken some time off from work. And when I came back, because of all the surgeries and all the things that I went through, I could not physically, my heart and mind were still there, but physically, I could not go out into the field and do what I was doing from my career standpoint. So I medically retired. But the love for it was still there. So I said, wouldn't it be cool if we can take what we know as investigators from a law enforcement standpoint and apply it to the paranormal world? And so that's when I had come up with the idea to start investigating cold case murders and missing person cases by starting off revisiting, the criminal side of it, seeing if we can uncover new evidence and seeing if we can figure out maybe things that might have been missed, and then going back and going into a paranormal investigation with the ultimate goal of, making contact with the victim.
Right.
And quickly, we became successful at it. In addition to that, I started taking a lot of courses on, dark entities and the demonic and occult. And we started doing also a lot of house calls for dark entity cases. And some of the cases that I worked on were absolutely bone chilling. Um,
Now, so do you
think about,
feel? Do you feel? I have so many questions. I'm sorry. Um,
no, go for it.
do you feel um that you were just drawn to the dark entity side of this, or is it what you wanted to do? Is it something that or do you find, or were you finding that, I guess, because of most of the cases you were working with were missing or murdered, so that's really not a positive thing to begin with, so
Yeah.
I guess they do go hand in hand.
Yeah, I mean, I had a lot of incidents with cases, house calls that were going beyond just a bump in the night, there's a ghost in my house. And what really took a turn for me and made me want to start getting into actually being um, what the church considers their version of legally allowed to investigate the occult and exorcisms and dark entity. Um, I had a bishop. I came in contact with a bishop. She was an exorcist. She was one of the first female bishops in the United States.
Hmm.
And she worked directly with the Vatican, and I say Vatican meaning like the archdiocese, and then they move up from there.
Sure.
And after taking several different steps that they make you take, she did what's called the Warriors of St. Michael induction for me and John, and where they basically the church gives a blessing for a lay person to begin investigating what people perceive could be a dark entity or an attachment, exorcism, or whatnot. And at that point, I started getting a lot of cases, people calling me and saying, "Hey, this is not a ghost. This is something else." I think one of the most prominent cases we worked, and I'm still very good friends with the family today, was a family out of Pennsylvania. It was a generational entity, and I refuse to say the the demon word very often because I, one, don't want to give that power, and two, I feel that so many people throw that around so willy nilly that I just try not to give that out there. But this was absolutely what we were dealing with, and it wasn't just her. This ran generations deep, four to be exact, and it was the women in her family. So her great great grandmother, her grandmother, her great great grandmother, great grandmother, grandmother, and her mother all passed away by 55. All had premonitions before their deaths. This entity tortured and tormented them their whole life. And after my client, her mother knew she was going to pass, she started recording things, and they were seeing this entity um, around for like the last 7 days before her mother passed. And her mother, had a recording like, if this takes me, I need you to end this. And her mother did. She ended up what we believe may have been murder, but that was kind of covered up. It's a whole nother story because
Oh,
we kind of ended up with a cold, kind of like a cold case and a dark entity case all in one.
wow.
So we're still investigating that today. But that entity dated back to her great great grandmother. They were Mormons, and her grandmother decided to leave the church, and her own family cursed her for doing it. She wanted to become an actress and a dancer, so she ran away to New York City with her love of her life. She wanted to live a life outside the church, and as a result, as a punishment, her family cursed her. And that kind of began the very long, dark, evil um, generational curse that they had. And by the time it reached my client, she had a daughter who was about 2 years old at the time and started seeing the same entity that she saw as a child, the same entity her mother saw as a child. And she says, I'm not going to let this happen to my child. And so that's when they contacted us. And we worked directly with the Archdiocese out of Philly, had them come out and do what they did. We did our previous blessings and cleansings on the home. But during those investigations, we did a 3-month investigation, 3 days a week for 3 months straight. We had been bitten, burned, scratched. The evidence that we caught on camera was mind-boggling. My portal device that I use, that a lot of people know that I absolutely love, it's kind of my right hand piece of equipment, was saying things that, by all accounts, proved that piece of equipment was absolutely not some toy app. Um, it was saying things, even things such as when we, right before we went to like the third or fourth investigation, I stopped, I refilled our holy water, I refilled our blessing salt. We stopped at the church, and every time we'd go there, we'd stop, we'd see the bishop, she would redo our blessings with the oil, and um, she'd give us fresh holy water and salt and all that stuff. So we always kind of went armed. And this medallion that I carry around my neck, it's the seven archangels medallion blessed by the Archdiocese. And it became kind of like our protection, like to
Mm-hmm.
protect us. So that night when we had gotten there, the portal had literally recounted, stating, your bishop can't help you, your holy water can't help you, I'm going to drag your soul to hell. And that is on video, saying that I've never heard any spirit box or any app or anything speak like that.
Right.
And it was by all accounts horrifying.
Yeah.
Luckily, after a lot of hard work and exhausted, uh, month after month investigating and cleansing, and then finally getting it to where the church came in, we were able to bind and remove what was there. They sold their house, they moved out of state, and hopefully everything's from when I speak to her, nothing's going on in their new home. So it's a good thing. But
Yeah.
I think, the more I investigated the cold cases, the more I felt like they were very much one and the same, because to do the things that these cases we are investigating, some of these murders, to do those things, that is not of God, and that is not of anything holy or white light, right? So it's kind of like a dual passion. It's just,
Yeah.
between investigating. What my passion went beyond just let's go to a famous location and investigate. I needed and wanted more. And so I tried to use whatever tools I had, and whether that been my experience in law enforcement, or my passion for helping people, or, whatever that is, I wanted to take it further.
Yeah.
And so that's how we came up with Speaking for the Silent.
Yeah. I love that. And I love that. And do you I talked about this on my last show, so I'm interested to know what your thoughts are, but do you feel that the more religious people are, the higher the attraction of a dark entity, if you will, is present, because of the people being overly religious? And when I say
You
overly
know,
religious, I mean, there is a line, right? I
oh,
mean,
absolutely. Oh, absolutely.
you know what I mean? Like, I'm not knocking anybody for being, going to church every Sunday. I'm not saying that, but there's people, like you had mentioned Mormons, and Mormons to me, no disrespect to anybody, but they got a lot of rules. You know,
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
so that's what I mean. Do you find that the more the religious, the more the it attracts those darker entities? You think it would repel it, but
It's, I would be, my first reaction would be no. I feel like the more that someone is solid in their faith, the more they, put up that barrier, the more strong that barrier is. And, most of the time, one of the biggest pieces to removing, whether it be an attachment or something darker, is not giving it that power and rebuilding your faith in what your higher power is, right? So I would say no, but here's the funny thing. One of the most famous exorcists known to date, and I believe he's I want to say he's out of Maryland area, Father Rehill. He is brilliant, and he has done the just darkest of dark cases. They only call him in when it is as bad as it can get. You would think that being possessed is bad enough, but to say that there's a whole nother level of possession that's so bad that you need something even stronger is wild to think. But I remember him doing a podcast, and he said something that really shook my whole belief system. Everything that I thought and everything that I believed to be contradicted what he said, but at the same time, it made a lot of sense. He said, for every one person in a room, there is one angel and one demon. And those angels that angel and that demon sit there. The angel is the protector, keeping that demon at bay. But that demon, although it's not attacking, and although it's not doing something to let you know it's there, it's watching, it's listening, it's learning everything it is about you. When people say that, this entity knew what I was going to say before I said it, or it knew my thoughts, it's because they study us. They sit back in the dark shadow, in the silence, and they watch us and they study everything about us. So if you take that theory and apply that, or that belief, because he firmly states that that is a fact, that there is one angel and one demon for every human being in one room, and that demon is waiting for that perfect moment that either that layperson has their guard down or has their faith shaken enough to where he can breach that barrier, right? So if you put that into play, think about the darkness that is consistently around everybody, right? So you have to believe that, at least, well, I say I have to believe, or I'd like to believe, that the stronger your faith, the more protected you are, because that is what's keeping that entity at bay. Although I also believe that entities love to make a mockery. We know they love to make a mockery of the church and the Holy Trinity, and they love to make a fool of Jesus Christ or whatever, higher power you believe in. And so I also think that they would probably like to target someone who is of a very strict faith, because what better way to,
Right.
curse God?
Right.
So it's kind of 50, I'm 50-50. Had he never said that, I would have told you, I believe that the stronger your faith, the more protected you are.
Yeah.
Until I heard that. And that really just, I remember I was driving home from an investigation. I had like an 8-hour ride. And so I listened to this podcast, and by far one of the best podcasts I've ever heard in my life. Um, he's brilliant. He's brilliant. And so that really like took everything I thought I knew and just threw it out the window.
Right.
Threw it out the window.
Yeah. That is crazy. I mean, I can't imagine. Like, and then so with the cold cases, right?
Mhm.
Well, somebody had asked in the comments, but I think I know the answer to this because it's somebody, Kim did, about if you had video to show. Not on here, but it was a private case, so I'm not sure. You know what I mean? Like, that's confidential stuff, I guess. What is happening? Oh my goodness! Sorry.
No, you're good. I was like, oh, they're messing with us. They're opening doors right in front of us.
So I lost I had questions, but I was like so engulfed in what you were saying. You know what I mean? That like I forgot what I was going to ask you. However, um, how are you able to investigate the cold cases? Like, do you work with the police departments, or do you kind of just do research online? Do you guys kind of like how are you able to? Because honestly, that's like my dream job to work on cold cases.
Well, you are welcome to come with us anytime you want. We
Yeah,
have a quite a big case load right now. I have my private investigator's license still, so that gives me a little bit more wiggle room. Um, Before I renewed my license, there was a small time frame where I was in between the renewal period, and I was a little nervous just because you have to remember these are cold cases that some cop somewhere either dedicated their career to solve or didn't do a damn thing and let it go. And either one is going to be a major insult both to that department and ego if you solve that case. And we actually had quite a pissed off police department out of South Carolina, because we, after 30 years, this case was cold, uh, brought up some information that they did not have. And it kind of cracked things wide open. And they were not happy with us and
hmm,
still not happy with us.
interesting.
And that's happened to me more than one or two or three times. I've had police departments be, welcoming, and they'll do anything to solve that case. And I've had police departments say, "Get the hell out of my town." Um, and I guess, at the end of the day, I'm brought in by the family of the victim. So it doesn't matter what you say. You
Right,
can tell me I have to leave, but I'm not leaving. And it doesn't matter whether we find new evidence, we will investigate the case until we find something. We have cases we've been working on for years
right,
trying to find new evidence. Luckily, a lot of the cases that we chose for the show, we've had incredible success with. I have a huge army behind me. I shouldn't say former, he's retired, FBI agent, who was a very high ranking agent, is a consultant on our show. He's also a consultant on Fox News, MSNBC. So we're talking about credible people.
right.
And we had a police department from Pennsylvania, wanted nothing to do with us. It was a Jane Doe cold case. I left message after message after message. I have new evidence. Your case is 26 years old. This could solve one of the most infamous cases to come out of the East Coast. Please call me. They would not return my call. They dodged me every time I went down there. They wanted nothing to do with solving this case. And so finally, you know, one of the cops said, "Why would we ever?"
Don't you find that interesting? Like, first of all, you worked in law enforcement, and like
Yeah,
you would think like when somebody calls and they say they have this, I mean, I feel like they're supposed to investigate that.
100%.
Yeah,
That's their duty, 100%. As long as that case is open, that is their absolute responsibility, is to keep fighting and investigating that case. So it's not often that it hasn't happened often, but the times that it's happened made me think that there's a reason, whether they don't want it solved because it will make the department look bad, or they don't want to be like one department said, "Why would I ever take information from a bunch of," I'm not going to say the word, but basically crazy ghost hunters and a psychic. And it took my consultant, the FBI agent, to say, "Let me ask you a question." He says, "I've been in law enforcement for 40 years. I've been on some of the most astronomically famous cases, missing persons, murders. He was HRT for 20 years." He says, "If I'm standing beside her and we bring you evidence that could solve your case, what do you care where it comes from?"
right,
Well, it's embarrassing. Why would we ever? Why would? And he's like, "Take the information, present it how you need to present it, but take the damn win. What are you doing? What do you
right,
care where it comes from? You're helping this family find closure."
right.
Um, and so that department, luckily, kind of had a little bit of a change of heart, but he's right. Technically, well, not technically, legally, psychic medium work, unless they are physically employed by the police department, is not admissible in court. So why would you not take it? Because in reality, you're just going to put your face on it and stamp it as your win.
Right.
So to me, if that's the case and you're not taking what we're giving you, like in this case, we use the FBI mapping, facial mapping structure to superimpose our Jane Doe over the woman that we thought it was, and it was a 93% match. 93% match. That's
Right.
incredible. Why would you not take that win?
Right. Right. Right.
There's
Right.
got to be an ulterior motive. Now, our investigation for this particular case um, involved potential police cover up. Like the police were involved in kind of covering this case up, which would make sense because why else would you wouldn't take what we have?
See,
So
and had I not watched that John Benet Ramsey thing on Netflix where they show you how the police acted towards the mother and father, those poor people. I'll be honest, I
yeah,
don't think they had anything to do with it, but they focused so badly on that they ignored so many other things because
Yep.
I think they were embarrassed or they were trying to they were embarrassed that they fucked up. So I think
absolutely.
so I believe you because I saw it on that special. I was like, I cannot believe I don't I couldn't believe how they acted. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um, and OJ did it, just saying. Yes.
yeah, absolutely. Of course you did it.
Yeah.
The glove fits, darling. The
Well,
glove fits.
well, even look at the other Casey Anthony. That whole thing. That's
Oh my
insane to
God.
me. That's insane to me. How did she get away with that? You know what I mean? It's like and
Because
uh,
any evidence they had, they screwed up, whether it be chain of command, chain of custody, or 9 times out of 10, it's a screw up in the process, and they can't go forward with it, and then their hands are tied. And that's sad because the families are the ones that suffer. Like this case that is our pilot episode for Speaking for the Silent, the case out of South Carolina. Um, we have the we have the victim's shirt with blood on it. There's potential DNA from the killer on there, and they won't retest it. Why would you not? So now we got to pay out of pocket to go have it retested,
right,
and the family does. And you know what? We're going to do it because we're going to solve this case. But the reality is, why would you not?
right.
So it's sad, and I have to like I will reiterate again, it's not happened a lot, but there are departments that if they know or feel there was some kind of tarnishment, they're gonna push us away. And until
Frustrating.
paranormal investigation becomes part of a police investigation, they will always push. There will always be
Do
departments that push us away.
do all of the cases that come to you involve both, or does it ever wind up being one or the other?
Um, you're saying involve
Paranormal
both?
and the criminal side of it. You know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely.
Or the
Yeah,
but so I'm saying like
yeah.
they always come like are people calling you because they said, "Listen, my sister is missing, feared to be dead, and we're having some weird things happen in the house. We think it's her." Or is it like, "Can you help me find who killed my sister?" And then the paranormal just comes up. Like, yeah,
It's
there's some
both.
weird stuff happening. Like, is it always, or is it? Do you ever get a case where it's always just find my sister or find the murderer, and there's no paranormal, or you go into a case and it's just all paranormal,
No, we get both. In fact, we get more people that are not paranormal
right?
than we do anything else, and it's because they're at their breaking point and they'll do whatever it takes. Again, I keep bringing up our pilot episode because it's just a remarkable case, and I've become so close with the victim's daughter. She's such a sweetheart, but she got to the point where she's like, "I will do anything to find my father's killer." But since we started investigating it, he's made his presence known to her
Oh, I
in
love
his
it.
in her house and doing things, and it's hilarious because it's like in reality he was probably always there, but she didn't really have her eyes open to notice it before. um and
That's
so
awesome.
a lot of the time people are grateful for that because it's kind of like uh, I needed that confirmation. There were things that came up during our psychic medium and portion of the investigation, and she was just like, "I'm blown away. I'm just blown away. I have no words." And that's always incredible validation, and it feels good. We will do anything and everything to help the cases that we investigate. We're always looking for new cases and always looking for people out there that need help, and whether that be with a cold case investigation or whether that be with private home investigation or whatever it is. We're always taking new cases, but it's a good feeling when you can bring closure to somebody after they've waited just eons to get that validation and closure.
Right.
And there's so many. There's just so many. There's so
So,
many.
so
Sad.
you can plead the fifth. You don't have to answer this. I'm not trying to put you on the spot either. I'm just curious, and then there might be somebody out there that's interested in your services and doesn't know. But what does that cost somebody? Like, do they? I know obviously they pay for, like, if there's laboratory testing that needs to be done, or if there's this stuff that needs to be done. But like, is there a fee, or is it it goes as you guys go? You know what I'm saying? Like, is it
No, we don't charge at all. Everything we
oh
do
wow,
is 100% out of our own pocket. All of our travel is covered out of our own pocket. And believe me, it gets expensive when you're traveling out of state and having to stay in hotels for a week at a time, or food. The only thing we would ever tell them that they'd be responsible for is something like the testing, because that's like $10,000. Nine times out of 10, we'll try to raise money before we would ever ask them for to pay for that.
right, right.
But we don't ever charge for our services.
That's
I
awesome.
couldn't
I'm
do it.
actually
I
shocked
couldn't do
because
it.
partly what you're doing is private investigating and cold case
Yeah.
stuff. You know what I mean? And if you said yes, I was going to say, how do you separate? Because you don't charge. Most people don't charge for paranormal help. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like, that would be so hard. And my God, hats off to you that you do this for nothing for these families. I mean, I'm sure. So that's good to know. So if there is anybody out there that knows anybody that is looking for such a service, please look up Jaclyn. They can contact you. I guess well, we can do that at the end, but
Yeah,
um,
absolutely.
yeah, that would be awesome. This is fascinating to me. That because having the two combined is like, it's like a dream job. I said that when I was
It
reading
is.
your bio. I'm like, this is a dream job. I've always wanted to. I love cold cases. I love ID on Discovery. I love, like, I watch
Oh yeah.
all that true crime stuff. You know what I mean? Like, I love all that stuff. Forensics, all that. And then the paranormal side of it. And to see the two combined. I mean, so you
It's
said that.
wild.
So there's a show coming out surrounding what you do.
Yes. It's called
Um,
Speaking for the Silent.
Speaking for the silent, and it basically shows you and your partner, like, doing your job, like whatever it is that you're doing, how you're investigating and things you come across. And
Yep.
what is that started already?
We are refilming the pilot episode because, ironically, our very first attempt at filming it, a lot of the audio did not come out,
Oh no.
which was
Oh
pretty
no.
wild because we have like legit audio. So I don't know why it happened. But so we're refilming the pilot episode, kind of doing a little bit of a new take on it. But the way the show works is we start out by doing pretty much me and the team minus our psychic medium go in and do the criminal investigation. So we'll go in and revisit the crime, in interview, whether it be coroners and police department, witnesses, local news crews that covered the case, anybody and everybody that was ever even so much as a blip on the radar during the case's initial opening. Once we've done the criminal investigation and hopefully uncovered something that can give us a little bit of a path to go on, we go back and do a paranormal investigation sweep, like a paranormal sweep. So we'll visit both the scene of the crime, we'll visit, the victim's home if it's still, in able to be accessed, any important location to the victim and to the crime. We'll do a paranormal sweep slash investigation. And then the third night is when we bring our psychic medium in. She has no knowledge of our cases. She is absolutely in the blind. And I mean that 100% to the hill. And sometimes I'll almost slip up. I got to remember to get her off the phone calls when we're talking about our case review. But we bring her in the last night of investigation. She's blindfolded and has headphones on halfway through the second half of the ride to location, and she's given nothing. And what I find so wild is three of our prominent investigations, she started seeing the victim 3 days a week, 2 weeks before we ever even took her to location. The victim was contacting her in her home, showing up at her, she's a teacher, showing up at her school, asking for help. And the craziest thing is she'd come to me and be like, hey, this spirit came to me last night. This is what he looks like. This is what he said. And I'm sitting there chewing my tongue off like, oh my God, that's our victim. That's our victim. That's our victim. So right off the rip, she's starting to get validation. I can't tell her that, of course. But it is incredible to watch what we uncover from a criminal standpoint or what we take from the original investigation, start applying it to a paranormal investigation because it allows us to really bring that and that spirit out. And I have more times than I can count stood there with goosebumps shivering over the things that have come through and the evidence we've captured from these victims that want nothing more than for you to solve their case.
Right.
And mainly because their family, their families hold on so deeply that they don't want them to suffer. And that's 9 times out of 10 why they stick around because of it, to help their family find that closure. It's incredible. And it is a rush.
Yeah, I bet. Um, I have you ever had a case that you wound up not being able to solve?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
There's a lot of them. And I don't think it's so much that we can't solve it. We've had a lot of cases where the victim comes through, but it's almost like they can't say too much. You know what I mean? Sometimes I get the feeling that they're leading us where they need to lead us, but that we are the ones that have to figure it out type of deal.
Hmm.
Um, Sometimes there's cases where there's just no criminal evidence to use. There's a lot of cases like that, just absolute vanishing people whose bodies are found X amount of time later, and there's just nothing to go on. That's when we really try to apply the paranormal side of it, because in reality, that's all we've got. We had a case out of Gettysburg, of all places. Um,
Now you're speaking my language.
oh, that's my home away from home, girl. That is my
Oh, are you
home
serious?
away from home.
I
Oh,
have,
yes.
I have the
Oh,
coordinates
yeah.
tattooed on my arm.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
I love Gettysburg. My whole
It
room
is
is
my
Gettysburg.
heart.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll have to go there. We
Yeah,
will
yeah.
have to go there.
All right, go ahead. Sorry, you said
No,
Gettysburg.
you're good. So this case was brutal. It was a brutal murder. I mean, a brutal murder. And there were no suspects. There was no evidence. And by the time we brought in our psychic medium, and again, she has no knowledge of the case, we watched her walk through the house. She was channeling the victim and literally seeing his last moments, down to him laying on the floor, passing away, watching these bastards ransack his house. I was so overtaken by watching her because here I am knowing what happened in the case. She has no clue. And she's literally I'm watching her relive his murder in front of me. And she has no clue. So there's so many times where I just am just blown away. There's never a dull moment when it comes to the paranormal, right? You
Sure.
might end up with a cold case from a criminal standpoint, but boy, spirits like to talk. And they find a way to lead you to where they need to lead you. Sometimes we don't solve them for various reasons, but that's one of the biggest reasons why I don't stop investigating them because I firmly believe there's that one key piece that we're missing that we're going to find.
Yeah. Or eventually somebody's going to talk, or eventually
Yep.
somebody, or something's going to happen, or something's going to be said, or there's going to be something that comes out that
Yeah.
eventually, you know what I mean? Like I can't wait for John Benet Ramsey. That I can't wait for them to find that person. That's just crazy.
Oh man. That is a wild case. That is
It
a wild
really
case.
is. It really is. Kim is asking, what has been your favorite case to date?
Oh boy. I I would have to say our pilot, the one we're using for our pilot episode. because we had a hell of a plot twist that we didn't expect. We went in to investigate the cold case murder. The victim's daughter brought us in, and we uncovered a whole nother murder that was marked as like a random killing and was completely tied to our first case. And so we were all left stunned
Oh
and
wow.
not expecting that. And so I think just the whole storyline behind this case, what happened, how everything played out, and then to see what happened even 3 months after our our client's father was murdered. 3 months later, his murderer was murdered. And then to find out why through our investigation was drop the mic. Drop the mic. Kept me stunned. I'm still stunned by it. So, I mean, all of the cases are very, very, very special to me. My heart breaks for these families. What a
Yeah.
lot of people don't think about, we either have two types of people that follow us, people that are cold case people or paranormal people. A lot of times they coincide. We get someone like me who loves both, but it never I find that a lot of people focus on one or the other, but don't actually sometimes forget that you're dealing with real people's pain, real people's lives, something that is their worst moment in their life. And you have to be so delicate and so careful on how you proceed with everything. And most of the time, we're their last hope because let's
Yeah.
be real, if somebody else, like the cops or somebody, were able to solve it, they would have done that already. So the fact that they're reaching out to us as a last resort holds a lot of weight and has a lot of weight on our shoulders. And so we try to be so delicate and we're very caring. And I tend to make a personal friendship with each of our cases. And that's just because you are digging into the most painful part of their life and you have to have the big sense of compassion to do that. So they're all very,
Absolutely.
very special. And but there have been some cases that have just like left me just speechless.
Um, Alex is asking, and this is a good question: does the area of the murder make a difference?
Absolutely. Oh my God, yes. We get, I mean, most of the time, body dumps are where? Outside. That is a very difficult location to investigate from a paranormal standpoint. We had our suitcase Jane Doe episode. She was dumped in a suitcase on the side of a stream next to a cave. Try to do audio or an investigation in that. Um, it's very difficult. So we have to get very crafty in making sure that, our evidence is able to be caught without being contaminated, because there's so much outdoor activity going on, and whether it's a cricket or a plane, it happens a lot. As well as a lot of time, if a murder happens in a house and the case is 20, 30 years old, there's always a good chance that house has been torn down or someone else lives there and they don't want you in it. Our Gettysburg case, I felt so bad because we kind of just like walked up to the door and we're like, hey, are you aware this happened? And she's like, yeah, absolutely, but I don't believe in ghosts. I said, well, do you mind if we borrow your house for a night? We'll pay for you to stay in a hotel or whatever. She said, no, I want to stay and watch. So, we've had people shut the door in our face. So it does definitely make a huge difference because there are some cases where, 20 years, things are gone.
Yeah, for sure. And even if like if it's if the spirit is still there with the family, they might be attached to the family, it might be where the family is.
Absolutely. And
You
that
know.
happens a lot too. A lot.
So let me see where we at. Stacy is asking, have you ever thought about writing a book? Your stories are fascinate me.
I have quite a few times, actually. I just would have no clue on how to go about it.
Me too.
um,
I
I
thought
think,
about that too. Like,
yeah, I
what
think
do you want
between
to
my
read about me?
childhood, what's that?
I always think about it too, but then I'm like, who the hell would want to read about me? You
I
know.
would. Hell yeah, I would. Absolutely.
I think the point
Yeah,
of writing is you're hoping that somebody picks it up and reads that can resonate with what you've been through and
yeah,
hopefully learn something from it, or you know makes them feel understood, or they take something positive from it. Not necessarily that you're reading about me, my life, because I'm like, I think I'm a celebrity and I'm not. You know what I mean? Just, you hope somebody's going to relate to it, which is why I do my show.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Like, there
Yes,
could be people
absolutely.
watching that have gone through something like this, and we're looking for a service like yours. And
Yeah.
my God bless you for, I mean, not charging people. I mean, that's a lot of time and effort, and you know, a lot of that. I mean, and out of money out of your own pocket, to help these people. And God love your heart. The passion you have is amazing. And that is one
Thank
thing I
you.
did not know, folks, when I met Jaclyn. I did not know this stuff about her. And I wish I could reach through my laptop and give you a big squeeze.
Oh,
You just become more and more awesome, the more we
hugs.
talk. You really
Oh,
do.
thank you, honey. Thank you. Yeah,
Um,
I want I want to be able to get us to a point where we are able to help people all over the country.
yeah,
So we started looking into like sponsors and um, trying to find ways to cover the cost for more, distant travels. Like we get a lot of cases from the Midwest, which is a huge missing persons um,
because
cold case
there's a lot of
area.
desert out there. There's a lot of places
Yeah.
to put people.
Yeah, and so it breaks my heart when I can't get out to a family because they're in Utah. This one woman, I cried for a week straight. I did everything I could to try to figure out how to get me and the team out there, but I mean, the cost was just more than I could cover out of my own pocket. And I tried not to make our team pay for a lot too, like they'll cover their hotel, but I tried to at least provide the food and, stuff like that. So um, it breaks my heart when I have to tell somebody, like, I can't get to you right now. I'll get to you. I will find a way, but it just might take a little bit.
Right.
So,
Alex is asking, do you do research into the evidence of the case to get you pointed in the right direction, or do you want to go in so-called cold? No, I think you get stuff from the case, but you don't give it to the psychic
yeah.
guru.
Yeah, we do quite a bit of research and investigating before even getting to location. And when we go down, especially when it's a place that we have to travel pretty far for, like, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, somewhere like that, we try to set as much up as we can. So we have to coordinate, our interview times and make sure people are available and get releases signed and go through a whole bunch of rigmarole to make sure that when we get down there, everything's good to go. So we do both the criminal investigation, a big portion of it before we get down there, so that we know, because most of the time we all have full-time jobs and work Monday through Friday and do all of this generally like Thursday night through Sunday.
Right.
So we have to make sure that that time is very, very strictly kept in line. So we try to get as much done before we go.
That makes sense. Total sense. I
Yeah.
mean, it's efficiency right there. I mean, um, and Stacy's asking, where can we watch the pilot episode?
So right now we are working on, there are a couple different streaming networks we're talking to, and then we also are working to get it squared away with like Roku as well. At the end of the day, I will try to get it onto every network I can because I want, you know,
Well, that's
their
exposure
stories
for
to get
the
out
for
there.
the, for the case as well.
Right.
Somebody
Yep.
might be watching it and go, I was there that night. I know that person, or I heard
Yep.
that from this person. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, that's the whole point of trying to get something like that out. You know what I mean? And to have the
Yep.
paranormal, twist in it is awesome in my opinion. And it's a shame because I'm not comparing, please, but like Dead Files, this is probably an unpopular decision. I'm not, again, this is only my opinion, so I apologize if this upsets anybody, but the first season was fairly decent, and then it just got so bad. I mean, they never left the families with resolution. They left these families in fear and crying. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I can't watch this show anymore because they basically just say, well, you got to burn your house down. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You gotta
yeah,
leave and burn your house down. There's nothing you can do. I mean, she at first was starting to tell people, oh, contact this person and contact this priest and contact.
yeah.
But then slowly, like as time went on, it was like they didn't give a shit about the families. They just cared about the evidence they were, or the TV
Right.
entertainment
You
part.
got it.
You
You
know,
got it.
yeah. So I love that you guys. I can almost, as you're talking about it, I can almost picture it in my head that is absolutely something I would watch. I would be so into that because I'm into cold case stuff. Like I love it. Like Homicide Hunter Joe Kenda, love him. Like I
Love
love
them.
watching Joe Kenda. He's like
Yes.
top notch to me. I love him. But I'm all for cold cases and all for like all that stuff. I love it. I mean, if there's ever a chance I could do a ride along,
Hell yeah.
I would
Absolutely.
just like sit back and watch and just like, watch you guys do your thing. I mean, I think that would be awesome.
Absolutely. You are more than welcome to join us when we head back down to South Carolina in June-ish, depending upon which work schedules work out. It'd be May or June.
Yeah.
But yeah, absolutely. It's funny because the last time we were down there for, again, our pilot episode, I'll give you a little tiny small piece of the family background. The victim and the murderer were both military men. And so, being that they're both passed on, we were doing our paranormal investigation, and so my partner John, who's also a military man, was talking to them as if they were in the field, and he's like, we'll call him Bob for short. Bob, copy. Bob, are you with Jack? That's the victim's name. Are you with Jack? And it's like silence for a minute. He's like, Bob, you copy? All of a sudden, you hear through the portal, yeah, copy. I fell over. And then not a second later, you heard, where's Jack?
Really?
My heart was beating through my chest.
Wow.
So we have a small promo that we put out for Spirit Realm Network. And it's only like not even a minute long. And it's the very ending of that promo shows John saying, Mateus, copy. And you hear, yeah, copy. It was just so chilling. It should be on my Facebook, and it's definitely on our TikTok and our YouTube and stuff. So
So
definitely
where
pull it
can
up and watch it.
I want to get to where people can watch it, but I want to say Alex is saying, I have to be honest, being in law enforcement, I would have looked at you in a weird way, but now the things I have experienced, I believe this is a huge help to
Oh,
law
thank
enforcement.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to hide it. Like there were people in my department, I could never tell that I was. I've been investigating the paranormal since the days where if you said that out loud, you were getting locked up in an asylum. Like you were crazy. You didn't
Right.
say that out loud. You didn't tell people you investigated ghosts. So especially being in law enforcement and executive protection, there was no way that I was willing to share that with mostly anybody. I would have
Right.
never. And it wasn't until I would experience a certain something on the job, like things that happen where you're like, did you see that? When you're dealing with certain cases where, it's almost like you and your partner are like, what you just saw, I know what you just saw, but we're not going to talk about it type of deal.
Right.
There weren't many people that even knew I was into paranormal investigation. And mind you, I was doing it full time behind the scenes. So
Yeah.
I kept it a very tight lid on it. And it wasn't until I retired that I began talking or even showing my face outside,
Right. The
the
paranormal. Yeah.
department.
That's
Yeah.
awesome. So where can people find? So do you when you said Facebook and TikTok page, is it Spirit Realm? Uh,
No, so we have, so my Facebook is under Jaclyn LaRen, and then we have our TikTok page, which is Forsaken Souls underscore PRG. And then we have Instagram and YouTube, also Forsaken Souls underscore PRG. And then we have our group page as well on Facebook, which is Forsaken Souls Paranormal Research Group. So we have a lot of our evidence, some of our dark entity cases evidence on there, a lot of our cold case evidence on there. And then a lot of fun investigations we've done. My other home away from home is Lake Shawnee. So we've had incredible investigations there. We do 4 events a year at Lake Shawnee. So we have people come out and do investigations with us, and we do kind of like a camp out and cook out and all that stuff.
Oh,
So
that
two,
sounds
three
fun.
day, it's a blast. It's a blast.
Alex said a lot of weird shit goes down the Pine Barrens where I patrolled. Yep, there is.
Oh yes.
Like
Oh, yeah, a lot of body dumps. A lot of
that.
body dumps in the Pine Barrens.
That's like my neck of the woods, Alex. I definitely
Yes,
I
it
live
is.
near Batstow, so and Atzion and Batstow Village and Batstow is where the Jersey Devil supposedly. I don't believe in the Jersey Devil, but that's supposedly where. But yeah, the Pine Barrens is definitely there's like a lot of cold cases and a lot of stuff that comes out of the Pine Barrens for sure. They got their own rules. Those people.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But yeah. Oh, you still live in it. Oh boy. I mean,
I'm kind of jealous.
I'm sure there's still some good parts, but like when I would go back to like back Batstow and back in the Pine Barrens, like first of all, I wouldn't go without anybody that knew where they were going because you would get lost. It would be like Blair Witch, like you get lost
Oh
and you
yeah.
get lost, you couldn't get out, and that scares the crap out of me. Um,
Yep.
um, and you know, what's to say? New Jersey Devil can hear you. I love living here. I really want to move out of New Jersey. I don't like New Jersey. Wrong turn people. Yeah. Yep. She said wrong way people, wrong turn people. Yeah,
Take a
that's
trip through backwoods of West Virginia, then you'll know about the wrong turn people.
thank you. We'll never do that. That scares me more than any ghost,
All
any
day long.
any animal, anything. It's the wrong turn
Yep.
people. Oh my gosh.
Yep.
I would kill myself before I knew anything was happening. Like I would just kill myself.
John and I got lost in the backwoods of West Virginia. We were hosting our event in Shawnee. We were there for 3 days, and we had to make a quick run to Walmart to kind of restock some stuff. And our normal route was blocked off for an accident, so the GPS detoured us, and we lost our GPS service, and we're on the backwoods, and I mean the wrong turn type backwoods.
I'm
I
so scared.
could not believe what I was seeing, the way that they lived, and they would, like, there was this one family just standing out in the yard. I'm like, yep, we're gonna have spikes thrown right out across the car
Oh my
and
god,
we're gonna
I
get
would think the
taken.
same thing.
That's exact. I said to him, I'm like, you know what, you better lock those doors. I'm ready to go. I got my piece, we're ready. I'm like, we're going down swinging, buddy, we're going down swinging.
Oh my god, it's a nightmare. And then all you think is like, oh, they're gonna have
Terrifying.
sex on my dead body, and you're just like, no, I can't take it. I can't take
Yep.
it. I saw 5 to 10 seconds of that movie, Wrong Turn, and that
Awful.
ruined my life. I was like, that's it. Because I'm like, these people really exist. I think they
Yeah,
really
they
exist.
do. Oh, they do. And I've had a lot of people, when we go down to West Virginia, we meet tons of incredible locals, and we hear so many stories, and they'll tell you, oh yeah, they're out there.
It's so crazy. I would be so
Yeah.
scared. I would be so scared. I wouldn't be scared if I went with people like you, like who've been in law enforcement or like people that know how to maybe handle people. But I tell you what, I'm a bitch. I'll run. I am so scared. I will be like, nah. You
I
go back.
tell John all the time, I'm just gonna push you in front and I'm gonna run. And he's like, thanks a lot.
Yeah, I'm like that the person in the movies where they're like, go ahead, leave. Yeah, and the person's always like, I don't want to leave you. I'm like, okay, I'll see you later. Bye.
I will be the last one standing.
I will be, oh my god, I would die. Um, well, it's an hour and 15. Well, actually, technically you've been on for an hour, so that's good. I wanted to at least get you for an hour. I also want to give a shout out to Dark Echoes
I was
Paranormal
just gonna,
Brew.
you stole my thunder.
All right, go ahead. Sorry.
No, no, no. I just want to say the same thing. Give a big shout out to um, Dark Echoes and Matt and the team. I'm very blessed to also have been invited as a full-time investigator on their season 2. Absolutely love it. The crew is amazing. Had a blast with you when we investigated a couple weeks ago. It was so much fun. They're really an incredible crew, and Matt really cares so much about the team and the show. And that's always amazing to see because, one thing that I've always said, and I remember he asked me this way back when he first met me. He says, why do you follow the show? And I said, because you don't, excuse my French, bullshit your evidence.
Right.
And that was really important to me because, that's how I am. If I don't get nothing, I'm going to tell you I didn't get nothing.
Right.
I'm not going to make something up. And so that really stuck out with me. But then I got to meet them and really spend time with them. And, they're all amazing, amazing people. And we have such a good time. So definite shout out. I'm so excited for season 2, which we're filming now.
Yeah, I had the pleasure and I was lucky enough to work with you guys, and I saw it. I saw it. I said everybody, I had Matt on. I said everybody knew their job and everybody worked together. One man went down and you guys, picked up and you kept going, and nobody, I mean, it was just great to see how you guys operate and work. And Matt was very, very professional, very nice. He, and you can tell he has a passion for what he does. What I
Yep.
mean? And that, I mean, it was fun. I loved it. And
Yep.
I'm excited for you guys. You know what I
I
mean?
am so pumped. I cannot wait. We have some really great places coming up, and the girls, Scarlett and Stacy and Victoria and Katie, they're amazing. And of course, we can't forget our John Griffin, my buddy, that I
Yeah.
can tell you some incredible stories about. He did a little kind of promo episode with me on our trip to Lake Shawnee and the things that went down for Apparition Hall. And so we really have a unique team that each person has their own kind of shining piece about them, and then we come together and we're all kind of like this bright star. And I love that. I love
Yeah.
that because
You
it's
guys are.
hard to find that. It's hard to find that.
Yeah, and like I said, I loved working with you guys. I thought it was really cool watching how you guys operate and do your thing. And I said to Matt, I was like, Jaclyn, I said she kind of saved me there at the end when we were. I said I couldn't say. You just like
You
stepped
couldn't
right
do it.
in.
You couldn't do
I couldn't do
it.
it. And I was like, she stepped right in there, and she took right over, and she smoothed it out and made it work. I was like, he's like asked me the question. I was like, and you're like, well, this is what happened. And I'm like, thank God Jaclyn was there because I don't know how I would have did it.
I threw on my business face for 5 minutes. By day, I'm the senior director of a executive protection firm. So I threw on like a business face for a minute. I'm like, well, there were some opportunities, but we could fix that.
Yeah. So it was good. I enjoyed it. You guys are great, and I wish nothing but success for you and
Oh,
your
thank
show
you.
and Matt's show and Dark Echoes and
Absolutely.
your team there. And I am looking to have John on because I want John to talk about Apparition Hall. I think
Awesome stuff there.
fantastic. Yeah. I think it's fantastic. I loved, and that was one of the things I loved the most was like working with you guys. There were different techniques that you guys use that I've never used before, that I've never seen. So I thought that was really cool. So, um, you know, again, I want to thank you for coming on
Of
and
course. Thank you so
sharing
much for
your
having me.
story. This was really great. Yes, when you have time in your busy life, write a book because I think it would be interesting to read about a lot of that stuff. Um, and if I ever hear of any cases, I can throw your way. I will throw them your
Absolutely.
way.
Yeah, both house calls, cold case, the whole bit. We'll take them all. And I'm going to hold you to that coming aboard with us for one of our cases.
I
So
would love to. I would love
get
to.
your bags packed.
Yeah, I would love to. I would love to do a ride along. It would be
Heck
cool.
yeah. Thank you so much for having me. It means the world. I absolutely had a blast. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And thank you for your service. And thank you for everything you do for everybody out there. And again, people, please share the show out, not for me, but for Jaclyn and, the Spirit Realm group and the Dark Echoes, for all those people. Please share this out. Get the word out that there's actually people out there that can help if you are struggling and you last ditch effort, you're missing a loved one, there was a murder, something like that. Please reach out to Jaclyn and her team, and they'll do what they can to help you
Absolutely. Thank you.
for free. which is crazy.
True
Uh,
story. True story.
I love you for it, but that, I mean, my God, that's awesome. Again, thank you for coming on, and I will hopefully see you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Have a
Have a
good
good night.
You too. You too. Wow. I mean, that was better than what I imagined. I did not know most of that about Jaclyn. And that's like some pretty awesome shit. She does what I would dream to do, but like her, I have to work too, and all that fun, boring life stuff, that happens that we have to do. Um, but thank you, Alex. Thank you, guys. I want to thank everybody for joining us and listening. This was very fantastic. And I wish nothing but success for them. And Jing, as always, thank you. Um, and next Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, I will be here. Until then, sweet dreams, everybody.